And so now we know game week 25 will see Liverpool and Villa play twice, and for my lords that is the best possible outcome, as my team contains only 2 players combined from the 4 other teams who could have doubled up. It feels somewhat like those FPL gods are shining down on me right now, as a North London derby in the cup final could have severely derailed my runaway train, but now it's full steam ahead with the plotting and the planning as I search for the right track to lead me to the promised land. And I'll let you all know my thoughts on that double game week in a few short minutes, but first we need to talk about game week 24, because all our long-term planning went out the window with little time to adapt, and it's had a massive impact on all our fortunes. Now, of course, there is still that Merseyside derby to play, so nothing in game week 24 is fully confirmed. But what a wonderful throwback the game week proved to be, with the double game week 25 announcement so close to the deadline. It meant there was little time for a template strategy to form, so we all had to go by our own instincts, and my word, it made me feel alive. This is what FPL is all about. This is why we fell in love with the game. People were losing their minds at what might happen and how to approach the game week. I saw one of the greatest to ever play the game take a hit to sell a player he'd only just bought. A hit that meant I started the game week ahead of all of the great and the good, and I knew we were going to see carnage across the board. And that's where my lords had the advantage, because like I argued so eloquently in my last video, I already knew the potential was there for David Moyes, and the prospect of 5 matches in 3 game weeks for my assistant manager. That meant it was an easy decision to activate the trip. I may well have done it without the double next week, but with it, it was an absolute no-brainer.
Well, now we have a firm grasp of the obvious.
So I became one of the Moyes boys, and Divine Davy delivered 12 points in his first of 2 matches. And whatever happens in that second match, that curveball trip has been hit for a home run. And I have a sneaking suspicion there's a few more points to come. As for the rest of my team, well, we started the game week with a goalkeeper assist inside 11 seconds, justifying that second goalie transfer in 3 game weeks immediately. And then it got better, with the man 500,000 FPL managers sold banging in a hat-trick, and all 3 of my Liverpool lads getting returns, as did Cole the goal creator. Unfortunately though, my Newcastle triumvirate had their minds on shooting down the Gunners, meaning a flat defeat to Fulham and only 4 points. But if that's the trade-off for seeing Howe's heroes in another cup final, I'll take that all day long. And even with the Toon trio blanking, I've still secured 94 points and a rise up to 10,674 in the world. And with 5 assets, including my captain, to play again, I'm surely going to enter the 100 club for the second time this season. Of course, the big concern is being punished by those who triple captain Mighty Mo, with my closest rival Dan the Dragon being among them. And my secondary concern is losing out on a Liverpool defender if Trent isn't fit, giving that advantage to rivals who possess an alternate like Van Dijk, Alisson or Robertson, with my closest rival Dan the Dragon again being among them. However, Trent's fitness is out of my control, and if he does miss out, that improves the odds of magical Moyes conjuring up another miracle, so it could work out well either way. And I have extended my lead over the Dragon by a further further 7 points so far, sending me 71 points clear in the League of Gentlemen, so there is a bit of breathing room. Furthermore, I appear to have gained the ability of foresight, as everything I predicted in last week's video came true. The Dragon brought in Pickford and Gakpo and played that triple captain on Salah. Red Hot Rob has so far risen 2 places to 3rd, having already entered the 100 club. The Gladiator, well, he's fallen by the wayside, now 91 points off the pace, having gone for 2 more crazy gambles by making Iraola his assistant manager and Luis Diaz his captain, negating all the good work done by Munoz and Havertz. And look, I can respect a wild punt at the right time, but the Gladiator is showing just why taking too many chances will always backfire in this game. He stepped into the arena with 2 swords when what he really needed was a shield, and now he has suffered that potentially fatal blow. Away from the title race, special shout-outs go to John Go-Karting, the Master Chef, Big Steve the Butcher and Flash Funk, who have also gained access to the 100 Club. But the performance of the game week so far is that of Jockin Jeeves, with the 2-time Asterisk champ smashing home 110 points, despite making no transfers and leaving 13-point Elanga on the bench. This has been a woeful season so far for the Rap Rob Roy, with his team 232 points off top spot, but at least this game week has given him some hope for the future, and it's increased his chances of clawing back a little bit of respectability to a season which has quite simply never got going. And as we talk of the future, it's time to look ahead to double game week 25 and how I plan to finally break into that godforsaken top 10k. And when you look at my team as it stands, you can see we are set up very nicely indeed. We've got 4 doublers if Trent is fit. We've got 2 defenders with attacking threat against promoted teams. We've got a striker who's just scored a hat-trick. Call the goal against a Brighton who have just conceded 7. And 2 attacking assassins up against a team who have just conceded 5 goals, and that was against some lads we have repeatedly made look very ordinary indeed. However, I have only 1 free transfer, which throws up some very interesting dilemmas. The first is what to do with my assistant manager, and the obvious move is to switch to Unai Emery. He has that plum tie against Ipswich and then a chance at 10 bonus points against Liverpool. There could be several goals for his team next week, and if you believe in the power of the narrative the way that I do, could you really overlook the potential for Rashford to steal the show against Liverpool? It's a tantalising prospect indeed. However, it would be remiss for me to fail to look at alternative options, especially when Vitor Pereira hit 20 points and Marco Silva scored 18, both as a result of those bonus points. And Marco Silva is a very tasty alternative to Emery in game week 25, with a home tie against a Forest team who conceded 5 goals the last time they played away. Fulham have already beaten Chelsea and done the double over Newcastle this season, so Forest will hold no fear for them, especially given they were triumphant at their City ground. Were that 1-0 win to be replicated, then Marco Silva would score 19 points in game week 25. Then he'd have a lovely fixture the following game week at home to Palace. And if Liverpool were to beat Villa 0, then to match a Silva 1-0 win over Forest, Unai Emery would need to beat Ipswich 11-0.
The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you as sacrifice.
And Liverpool beating Villa to 0 is not an unrealistic prospect, so I have to keep the Silva option in mind. I can't see Leicester beating Arsenal, Southampton beating Bournemouth, Ipswich beating Villa, or Wolves beating Liverpool. So if I do want an Unai Emery alternative with bonus point potential, then Marco Silva is the man. And I could just keep Moyes as my assistant manager, but I feel I need to attack with this trip, so it will be a switch to either Emery or Silva for me. I do like that Silva punt, but Emery is the obvious choice, and the obvious choice tends to work out well in this game, so I'll make my mind up a little bit closer to the deadline. The big question is whether I take a hit to make an additional transfer, and I know you're looking at Anthony Gordon in my team and thinking he's the one to make way, and my plan was always to sell Gordon to Mbeumo this week. However, now the time is here, I'm having second thoughts. Man City keep a high line, leaving space for Gordon and Isak on the counter, which is exactly what they need. City have been playing an attacking midfielder at right back. They've just conceded 5 goals. Furthermore, Gordon scored against City earlier this season. He scored in both legs against Arsenal in the Cup. And what's more, Gordon has 17 returns in his last 19 games against the so-called Big Six. I know it would be a big balls call to go double Newcastle attack away at City, but those are the facts, and they suggest retaining Gordon could be a sensational differential play. However, I am still leaning towards selling the lad, even for a hit, because after City it's Forest, then Liverpool, and then it's one last game before the cup final. I think the strategic play is to sell him now, because the last time we made the final we lost 4 in the league, and those fixtures suggest the same could easily happen again. So the question is which midfielder to bring in, and it's a more difficult question than you might originally think. I already have triple Liverpool, so they're out. Villa's best non-Rodgers midfield options are all new signings, which I do not like at all, nor do I like their follow-up fixtures, so I think the Villa lads are out for me. Mbeumo has a decent run of games, especially if I free hit in 29 and wildcard shortly after, but I'm just not as sold on the lad as I once was. Kluivert has both the form and the fixtures, and he is my preferred option, but FPL legend Andy Martin warns of the impending birth of his child, so I'll have to keep an eye on that one, especially given Andy Martin called the Storm postponement before anybody else. Beyond that, the options are limited. Bowen has some appeal. Nwaneri could be a tasty alternative if you want to gamble. Maybe Dango Ouattara with that out of position advantage, or even Matthias Tell if you're a true wild man. But if you ask me, the best Gordon replacement, the only one that holds any appeal for me in Gameweek 25 is Justin Kluivert, and if I'm honest with you, I think I will most probably take that hit. And if his last does go into labour and he misses out, at least I'll have a mad playing the shambolic Spurs to step into my team. It could be an awful lot worse, and I think that is probably going to be the deciding factor in me taking the hit to sell Gordon. As for potential defender or striker transfers, I just don't see anything that appeals. Watkins might have seduced me, but I just don't think he's worth selling Gakpo or Wood for, especially given he's an injury doubt. And those considering selling Isak for him, well, I mean, it could work out, but it's a massive gamble to sell the greatest striker in all of world football, especially given the form he's in.
Pardon me, Mr. Perfect! I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake!
Defender-wise, Trent's injury status may mean I could be tempted there if he is ruled out. But we're talking about a transfer hit for a defender. Villa have been poor defensively this season, so I've no interest there. But could Van Dijk score 5 more points than Lewis Hall, given he has an extra fixture? Possibly, but then it's Haaland for the Dutch destroyer, and then it's Isak the week after. Anthony Robinson is against the inevitable Chris Wood, so it's simply not the game week for him. Daniel Munoz has some appeal, but he does blank in game week 29. So realistically, if Trent misses out, I'd be looking at either Van Dijk or a Bournemouth defensive double up for a hit. And I think I'd rather just take a chance on Lewis Hall against Man City and save the 4 points. There's just no point making a bad situation worse. And if I think about it, I suppose I could always bring in Munoz for Trent and switch Moyes to slot. And there is some appeal to that play, but it would lock me into free hit 29, so I'm not sure it's the move for me. It's one I'll have to give a lot more consideration to, and I just don't really see me making that move. So my current plan is Moyes to Silva or Emery, and then Gordon to Kluivert for a hit, leaving me with this team, which I think looks very tasty indeed. Maybe you think differently. Maybe you think there's someone I've overlooked, and that's very possible. So if you do, then make sure to let me know. There's nobody flawless in this game, least of all the uncontent creator, so any help at all is truly appreciated. And so one double game week is followed by another, as strategies are rewritten, plans go out the window, and the FPL season is blown wide open. The pressure is mounting, and the weight of expectancy is almost enough to turn a man to drink. Instead though, I went on the FPL Have a Beer podcast. I drank a vat of coffee, and I revealed far too much about myself as I talked about both the game and my life in great detail. And if you haven't seen it yet, I urge you to do so, because it was a great conversation held with a great host. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll hear my stories and wonder why, and then you'll come back to the game ready to attack double game week 25, and maybe you'll have some new ideas on how to approach the game. Maybe you'll find a way to gain the upper hand. Maybe you'll come away from it thinking I'm a bit of a dick and you'll want to kick my ass for the last 14 game weeks. Who knows? But the link is in the description, and it's at the end of this video, and it's in a very different style to these videos I create. So make sure to let me know what you think of it in those comments below. Who knows, maybe if the feedback is there, it'll force a complete change of style of these videos. We'll just have to wait and see. Either way, I hope you enjoy it, because it's a conversation that I'm very proud of, and it was truly an honour to go on such a great podcast. So make sure you check out some of the other interviews on the FPL Have a Beer channel. And much like that interview exceeded the very harsh expectations that I place on myself, I can only hope this season continues on its current trajectory, and it ends up being something else I can be very proud of. And I'll be doing what I can to hold off these reprobates in my mini league and make it so. You all know my plans for what's ahead, so now it's time for you to make your own. And so ahead of double game week 25, let me just say, may all your transfers be successes, may all your arrows be green, and may those FPL gods be in your favour. Have an FPL beer and reach the top tier by hitting those like and subscribe buttons, and we will see you next time.
FPL Nightmare, company pulling out more, yeah. I'm the greatest football manager to ever grace the old armchair, but the FPL gods hate me, and no one seems to care that my points are only average, and my ranking is not fair.